What actually makes a film a masterpiece? Is it awards? Is it influence? Box office? Critics? The amount of duration of time it stays relevant? In my opinion, it's a culmination of all those things. I believe a masterpiece is when you can watch a film and go, wow, that was perfectly crafted. I think some good examples are like Seven, The Godfather, Shawshank Redemption. But with those films, there's a key emotion running through all those films, which is strong emotions. Because as we know, when you remember something, it's normally attached to an emotion from how you're feeling. So I think the key thing to making a masterpiece is to leave the audience with a lasting emotional impact. A bit like Seven, I mean, not Seven, a bit like Whiplash. Whiplash covers dedication and obsession and a lot of emotions people feel on the regular. So when you watch a film like Whiplash, you can relate those emotions to emotions you have outside those films, which I think is the key way to make a film a masterpiece. And then that leads on to why do we remember certain films for years? It's simply because of, like I said, the emotional impact it leaves you with. There are scenes that happen, even something as The Wolf of Wall Street. Everyone remembers the speech. Why? Because you feel a visceral reaction. In Seven, when he says, "What's in the box?" We remember that because we will know what happens after that fact, which is the emotional impact it leaves you with. Now, when you applying that to your own films, I think you yourself need to view your film as your baby and you want to craft it as perfect as you can get it. Especially as a director, it's your goal for whatever's in your brain to translate to the screen. Otherwise, no one else is going to understand the vision if you can't get your vision conveyed precisely how you see it. Not saying don't take other opinions on board, but the vision lives in here, in your mind first, before it gets translated into a physical representation of what that is. And then sometimes it's just about pure scale. I remember the first time I watched Dune, I think it was either Dune 1 or Dune 2. By the way, Dune three's trailer came out. Let me know what you think of it, right? But when I saw the world and the scale, as someone who hasn't personally read the book, so I'm not as critical as some people because the adaptation isn't as perfect, the scale of the film has stuck with me forever because I go, wow, the world is so uniquely Dune. You can show me a frame from Dune, and I go, oh, I know what movie that's from. Or I can hear a line from The Usual Suspects, and I go, I know exactly what was taking place because the emotion it left me with. You got emotion versus information. Now, if you feel something and you see something, what lasts with you longer? Let's go back to the Dune reference and The Usual Suspects. Me hearing those lines from The Usual Suspects triggers that feeling I had when I watched the mystery unravel for the first time. To whereas when the information was given to me about Dune and I saw the landscape of what was taking place, what sticks with you longer? The information or the emotion? Like, are you truly remembering the stories that were told, or are you remembering the feelings the stories left you with? And I think that's a key question you have to ask yourself when crafting a masterpiece or anything that you want to be coherently good to a standard. Do you want to leave people remember the story of your film or how they felt watching your film? And I'm conflicted because I sit on both sides of the fence. I think you have to get a congruent balance of both. You need to leave them remembering the story, linking it to the feeling they're feeling. And I think that's how you craft the best way to even craft a great story. And it reminds me of this law: emotional salience. An emotion strengthens the feeling. So you having that emotion actually is really helpful for your film because by doing that, and like what I'm saying, you have to let them remember the story, but also the feeling they're left with is just as important because we only remember things that we feel deeply. Things that you don't feel so deep, I promise you, you don't remember them in the same detail as you do something that really hurt you because of the emotional depth. When you go through a breakup, you remember it because of the pain and the love and the joy and the whole experience. To whereas if you used to talk to someone for a couple of weeks, not to say you're not going to feel some pain, but it won't be the same pain as all those experiences that you felt which made you feel so deeply? And then when we link this back to film, is does a masterpiece change worldviews? I think it doesn't have to be at that point, but it has to be to a point where there are conversations discussing what has this film done for film culture and also culture in general. If we go to something like Moonlight, for example, for me, on a film level, that was a masterpiece to me because of how it made me feel. But then it translates to real world problems when it comes to identity and being who you are, no matter on social constructs. Now, to me, that's what would make something a masterpiece. It having real world effects and having a film effect where people really care about your film. This is the question I pose to you. Can you intentionally make a masterpiece, or does a masterpiece get created through you trying your best to create the best thing you can make? I personally believe a masterpiece is when all the team come together and give their all. And that's not me saying every film's a masterpiece, but you know when someone's tried, when the editing department's given their everything, the sound design's given everything, the actors they're not acting, they're living those experiences. When the director is giving his vision life, when the writer has written intentionally every line, every scene is crafted. To me, that's a masterpiece. So I believe a masterpiece is in the eye of the beholder, because there's some films that some people will watch from a film perspective and go, that is a masterpiece, because I can feel every intentional decision. I can feel the crying because I know they mean it, not just crying on command because they can cry on command. They're actually crying. So I don't think you can intentionally craft a masterpiece. I believe it's to everyone giving all they can give all the time in your film because they love they have for that project. There's something called the peak end rule, and it's essentially how you make people feel, but especially how you make them feel at the end of a film. Because don't forget, all those experiences come to an end. There's an end point, and how is it you leave them feeling? Once again, because this is the film we'll talk about the most in this video, The Usual Suspects. You think you've caught the twist and you're content with the twist you believe. And then the film ends and you go, what the hell? And that's where that film stays with people a lot, because it ends in such a way you go, wow, I got tricked, but then I got tricked again. I believe the ending of a film is just as important, if not more, than the opening, because they will remember that ending forever. There's a chance they can forget the opening, even the crisis, the midpoint of the film. There's a chance they can forget that. But you see that end, that can make or break your film. And as a director, you have to ask yourself, what is it I'm chasing anyway? Am I chasing a masterpiece? Am I chasing awards, fame, public display of affection? What is it you're chasing? I simply believe you should chase that every film you make, you'd be happy if that was the last film you've ever made. Because if you're not happy with saying that is my film and you can't claim that film, you didn't give everything you could have gave. And you have to ask yourself, why didn't you give everything? And that's how I'd construct what a masterpiece is. Did you give all you could have gave? And if the answer is yes, and your whole team knows the answer is yes, and everyone in the production says yes, then you should all walk away saying, this is a masterpiece, because you've all had a joint consciousness experience creating the greatest art form you can create, which is a movie. And I hope you enjoyed this video. It's another short one, but I hope you understand the point I'm trying to get across to you. Please like, subscribe, any platform you're on. Please show some love and support. We're going to try and get this up to everyday uploads. So I appreciate your support. That was, I almost ended it too early. That was Frame of Thoughts.